So of course, when we talk about gaming gear, everyone talks about really expensive and fancy keyboards, with mechanical switches of course, and Cherry MX, there's a Cherry MX Red. They're really popular and known for being fancy, high-end gaming stuff. But I had a question. Do you actually need all this fancy, high-end gaming gear? More specifically, keyboards. All you're doing is press some keys. Is a higher-end, more expensive keyboard actually going to be worth it? Or should you just buy something from the dollar store? That's what I set out to find out today. And so first of all, I had to get a nice, good mechanical keyboard to test on. And so I built this keyboard recently. This has Keychron K Pro bananas, which are tactile switches. It's using an epomaker EK98 and a keycap set that I bought off of Amazon that's a nice set. I built this myself, completely custom built, and around about 200 AUD dollars. It's a nice keyboard, they're tactile. I like it a lot. I haven't done any modding on it for the sake of fairness to the other keyboards. This is a good example of a really nice keyboard. So let's review it for a second. Not only does it just feel nice and amazing, I like it a lot. Let's do a sound test. It sounds amazing, feels amazing, I like it a lot. It looks amazing as well. I personally really like the aesthetic on this keyboard, the nice yellow with the whites, with all the little animals and stuff. I also bought an accent keycap for the escape key, being a little cat in the box. For the test that I do earlier, I switched this out because I didn't want it to give away the results. But it looks nice, it sounds nice, it feels amazing, and it's got a bunch of other really small quality of life features. Not only does it have cable connectivity, which is USB-C, so it's got the 2.4 USB stick connection, as well as Bluetooth, and unlike a lot of cheaper keyboards, you don't even need to put batteries in. It has a battery in the base itself that just charges with the USB-C. This is overall a very nice keyboard with a lot of quality of life things and just feels amazing in my opinion. And I'm just saying, even the switches stayed on trend. But of course, even though I think it feels amazing, that's the whole test. Do you need it to be that expensive? And so I got someone who I think is really good at keyboards. Not necessarily building them or understanding everything about how they work, but who uses them a lot. Now, while she doesn't like to be on camera, my mum does a lot of office work and is pretty much typing for her career all day, every day. And she's also gotten to try a few keyboards. Now, for context, this is the daily driver. It's got linear switches, nice keyboard, mechanical, a full 108 keys, and is just overall a very nice keyboard. I'm a fan. And so definitely has typed on a very nice keyboard, but because this is a dual computer setup, on the other hand, we've got this thing, which has got keys that have rubbed off, very much membrane, and compared to the other one, is just not the nicest keyboard. And so we've already got a bit of a range here. And so overall, she's definitely used a few different keyboards. She's got anything from a really nice keyboard to pretty much what was ever lying around, with rubbed off keys, a weird profiling, it just did not feel good to type on. And so if anyone was going to know a good difference and have used enough keyboards to actually be able to care, I figured she'd be the one to know. Because she doesn't exactly know what the difference between mechanical and membrane is, but she also knows what a good typing experience feels like. And so, I've already introduced you to the good mechanical keyboard here, but I'm also going to introduce you to two other keyboards. While the good mechanical keyboard is a $200 keyboard, AUD, I also have a $40 keyboard and a $20 keyboard. Admittedly, the $40 keyboard I don't have in my possession anymore. I used it for the testing, which I'll show you soon, but it was still mechanical. It had clicky switches and tactile, was from Kmart, and was just the Anko brand with no mods. Here it is on the Kmart site. It's just a mechanical keyboard, got some RGB, pretty basic, just labels gaming, just $40. And so far in the test, we've got a $200 mechanical keyboard, a $40 mechanical keyboard, but what are we putting in last for $20? Well, some people on the channel might recognize this keyboard. It is from a video of where I bought tech from Temu. This was $20 and is very much membrane. It doesn't look horrific, and I'll admit it's not the worst membrane keyboard in the world, but it's not great either. Let's give you a really quick sound test. So overall, not an amazing keyboard, in my opinion at least. But what I did is I got all three of them, and well, I got my mum. My mum was blindfolded, and I would put a keyboard in front of her, and she got to test it. Afterwards, I laid out the three keyboards vertically, and I got her to tell me which one she thought was the $20, the $40, and the $200. Let's get into that. Now, my mum doesn't want her face or her voice in the video, and so I'm going to be dubbing over this and commentating. And at this point in time, my mum had a blindfold on and was handed a keyboard one by one and given the chance to just type on it and try it out. I accidentally got the order to align with it. She didn't know that because, of course, blindfolded. But the first one was the $20 one, the membrane keyboard, and then it was the $40 mechanical keyboard with the clicky switches, with last of all being the $200 mechanical keyboard. After which, I turned all of them vertically and gave her a sign for $20, in which the results were very interestingly. With very little hesitation, the $40 membrane keyboard was labeled as the $20 keyboard. After that, she was handed the $40 card, and there was far more hesitation in that card between the $20 membrane and the $200 mechanical. Eventually, between explicitly those two keyboards, she did get it correct, but there was a lot of contemplation, and she did say that her favorite was definitely the $200 one. There was definitely a flaw or two in this experiment, like her primary is a linear, and all of these were either tactile or membrane, which did make her unbiased, admittedly, but overall, the experiment showed that, funnily enough, the $40 mechanical keyboard was labeled as the cheapest one, and while the other two were correct, there was a lot of thought having to be put into it, and it was pretty close. By the way, I just want to thank my mum for joining me on the video, even though she's not necessarily the most comfortable with camera stuff. Thank you, I appreciate it. So that was an interesting result, and it shows a few things. The final conclusion, I think, kind of comes down to, while a very fancy, very expensive keyboard like this will definitely feel nicer and more noticeable overall, there was a lot of deliberation, a lot of unsure, and that was when comparing the $20 and the $200. And so while it's better, and if you're doing typing every day for work, I would recommend putting in the money. I think it's a good idea. It's overall better for your hands, it feels nicer, it's just a lot better. At the same time, a membrane keyboard like the $20 one, it'll get the job done. Might not last as long, but it should be fine overall. There are going to be bad typing experiences. You can still get a cheap keyboard that types well. And well, there's also people that just kind of have weird preferences. Like for example, stepping away from me mum for a second, me dad, who does some office work and some non-office work. So while he definitely types, not nearly to the same amount. And so when he's currently using a $7.50 keyboard, I let him try that $200 one for a full day, and he honestly isn't sure which one he prefers between $200 and the $7.50 because of a few things that keyboard people just don't think about. Like one of the things he mentioned is it was just too tall because the membrane one wasn't that wide, it was really slim and thin. And so overall, while I think the test results kind of show that a $200 keyboard will make an impact and you will notice a difference, not nearly to the same degree as you're often sold on online. And another thing is that at times, a cheap mechanical keyboard will actually be picked less than a membrane keyboard because the cheap mechanical keyboard in that testing was called the cheap one and was the least favorite of me mum. And so if you have a good membrane keyboard and a cheap mechanical doesn't equal good. You hear so many buzzwords like, oh, mechanical keyboard, good keyboard. While I'd say overall, mechanical is nicer to type on, it's not the be all end all. And so overall, that was my video talking about keyboards, how much you should pay for them, and if they're worth it. Because the expensive one felt nicer, has more features overall, but the cheap one did the trick. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video about keyboards. It's a bit different to my usual computer stuff, but it's something I want to talk about for a while. If you want to see more keyboard content and building content, please make sure to like and leave a comment. What do you want to see? Do you want to see me build keyboards with challenges or twists? Also comment down whatever keyboards you've built. I want to know. What keyboard stuff do you like to do? What keyboard are you running? Please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm a small tech channel and it would help me grow the channel and it would help out a ton. I'd really appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next one. Before we go, I just want to ask one quick question. What's better, tactiles or linears? Debate in the comments. Also, I got custom done geeky technology keycaps. How cool is that?